Countdown to 9.
Save the rebellion! Save the dream!
Now I can laugh.
It's the Countdown to 9 podcast, everybody. Counting down one movie in the Star Wars universe per month until we get to The Rise of Skywalker. We're here in Burbank with the air conditioning cranked in the background.
Feels good today. Feels good.
Enjoy that low hum. Pretend you're on Jabba's barge. Whatever works for you.
Bashuda.
This month we land on the second of two standalone films from the galaxy far, far away. Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Paul Preston here with the movie guys, making movie magic with my good friend and co-host Sean Blodgett of the mighty Creative Motion Entertainment.
I love that you always say mighty Creative Motion Entertainment. I appreciate that. That's
Yeah.
very nice.
Well, I'll put spin on anything.
Well, we're trying to
I mean,
bring the Hollywood images to people at a fraction of the cost. It's a great way to say that. Yeah, I like it.
And as of this taping now, Sean, we are 23 weeks and 2 days away from Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. That's 163 days.
I like that Robert just checked his watch. Yeah, I think he's right about that.
Yeah, I don't know which sounds
set a
better.
timer for that.
I don't know
Yeah.
what sounds better there. But let's introduce our guy here who's chiming in, joining us this month, because the more the merrier, and I've gone to this guy before when we just have to talk Star Wars.
Absolutely.
He's a Star Wars fan, filmmaker, and former guest of the movie guys, back to talk about the adventures of Jyn Erso and the gang. It's Robert Reeves.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here, Robert.
pleasure.
We're excited you're here, man.
Happy
We're
to be
excited.
back.
We're
Very
excited
much.
you're here.
Yeah,
Wow, and that's it. That's everything, everybody.
You could have talked about any movie, right, in the Star Wars universe.
Absolutely, yeah. A wee bit of Rebels and Clone Wars too. Not that I've seen all of those, but I do have.
Nice.
I have an opinion. So,
Yep.
Yeah,
but
we
yeah,
haven't
any of the
touched-
movies, absolutely.
We haven't touched the TV shows here. I mean, outside
Every
of
once in
fringe
a while,
conversation.
I will mention Rebels because I like Rebels.
Right.
I don't love Clone Wars as much.
it depends
know
on which
people
version.
love Clone Wars, and I just
I li-
can't get into
I like
it.
the 3-minute versions they used to do. Those,
Yeah.
remember those? The Getty
Oh,
Tartakovsky or whatever. They were. That was good attention span for
Yeah.
me. Yeah. I like
Well,
that.
they're doing these interesting little animated pieces on YouTube.
Yes,
Have you
I've seen those.
these?
Those are wonderful.
And they're literally taking the sound design from the Star Wars
Yes.
movies, and they're animating the moments. And,
Yes.
and the animation's fun, and it's like this really cool. I mean, I think it's a great
think
way
it's
to
fantastic.
introduce young people to the Star Wars that we grew up
Yeah, I
with.
think it's on Disney too. I think it's part of a Disney
It is,
thing.
yeah,
but
yeah.
Go ahead.
Anyway, total
I didn't
derailment
know.
from our normal.
No, normally we're derailed. So
Okay, all right, so we're right on track.
good start.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Toot, toot.
Let's see. Just quick housekeeping before we get too far into this. Please chime in your thoughts at themovieguys.net, at countdown29@gmail.com, or at countdown29 all over the social media, from your Instagrams to your Twitters, etc.
Also, I'm going to jump in and say, for any of your media production needs, especially commercials and, of course, films and videos, music videos, all that stuff, check out creativemotionentertainment.com. If you're looking to do events and that kind of media production, be sure to visit digitalmindproductions.com. That's Paul Preston over there.
That's
Nice.
that's mighty.
Nice.
See?
That is mighty. All right, now before we get to Rogue One, there's always something big that goes down right when we're taping a show. This is how it is. Either they have Star Wars Celebration, or Peter Mayhew dies, or we
jeez.
get a trailer, or who knows what.
Last time it was Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's
Yeah.
Edge. But now, slow news month. For
Yeah, I
episode
know.
9.
It was funny this morning. I ran into somebody and they were like, "Did you see the second trailer?" And I was like, did I somehow miss that there was a second trailer for Rise of Skywalker? Holy crap. And I hop on YouTube and he's like, "Oh, yeah, there it is." I'm like, "No, that's a fan-made thing, dude. That's a fan-made thing."
Yeah.
And yeah.
Don't be fooled. Don't
Yeah.
be fooled by the internet.
Yeah.
But yeah, no Mandalorian yet. No Disney Plus yet.
Have they released a proper Mandalorian trailer? Because everything I've seen has just been people that recorded it at Celebration.
That's all there is.
Yeah.
And it looked pretty cool.
It looks awesome.
And I'll take Favreau helming that thing.
Oh my.
More than most.
Absolutely.
They probably should have brought him in earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I'll.
A few movies back. Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, I think he has a great sense. I mean, he's our generation.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets that storyline. He gets. I mean, that's why he's getting these movies. He gets what that story is, and he also gets the sense of how to ground it and make it feel honest and truthful and have real moments and have moments of levity and all, because he's great at comedy. I mean,
yeah.
he just gets it all.
He's put a good cast together too, so
I believe that.
Look forward to that first
Yeah,
trailer.
looking
We'll
forward
talk
to
about
it.
it right here.
Yes, we
as
will.
ever. But all I saw was, as news goes, they may add a sit-down restaurant to Galaxy's Edge. That's about the extent of the news.
Wow.
Now, as goofy as that is, let me just say, I endorse that. I endorse that behavior because the Florida parks kick the ass of the California parks in the sit-down dining. They're just only is Blue Bayou and like the what's the big one based on the old theater over in Disney California Adventure?
The Golden Horseshoe, right?
No.
Nope, that's Vegas. That's Vegas.
No, that's still counter-seated. That's
Right.
counter-seating over it though. Whatever it is, it's the one that's
Yeah, I know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
it's like a
yeah,
big
it's
movie
right there
theater where they
in Town
debuted
Square. Yeah.
Snow White. Anyway, and then the Vineyard Room, those are all sit-down as well.
Right.
But yeah, some new themed sit-down dining, where the food kicks ass would be great. Because right now the food is good at Galaxy's Edge, but the atmosphere is great. But the
Right.
food is good. Like a combo of both where you get to relax for a second. I know they want to move you around and get you back out spending money, but, so even though that's all the news there is, I endorse it.
Right.
Big
Agreed.
fan. And have you been to Galaxy's Edge yet?
I have
Robert?
not.
No.
I was waiting for the public opening thing, mainly because if I got tickets, I wouldn't know when I could go because of my wife and my kid and all this sort of stuff. I was like, I'm going to go by myself probably if I get a reservation. So we just decided to wait, which shocked my wife. She says, "You don't have tickets?" I'm like, no, I don't have tickets. So yeah, now that it's open to the public, we're gonna plan a day.
What
and
do you
again-
guys think about this conspiracy theory? Like, people are like, why is it not busy? I have a friend of mine that went again recently and said he was able to ride the Millennium Falcon ride, whatever it's called, 5 times.
I'm not sure why Galaxy's Edge isn't busy, but it makes sense to me that the rest of the park isn't because everybody's in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah,
It's,
I agree with
You've
that.
added, 40 square acres, miles, I don't know, is a big section.
It's not miles.
It's not miles, okay. Into the in Florida, it would be miles.
It
In
might
Florida,
be. Again, I said it last week. Kick out a couple of gators and expand that baby.
Exactly.
Here we have like golf courses and freeways and cities.
Yeah,
And stuff.
yeah, you can't.
expand.
There's just so far you can go. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, They had to tear down a parking garage for California Adventure. I remember that.
True.
But I think just everybody went to Galaxy's Edge, and it freed up the rest of the park. And there are probably people like me who says, "I'll just wait."
But
know?
the lines even in Galaxy's Edge, are supposedly short, and
Yeah.
I have a feeling that just the hype about how huge it's going to be
Yep.
just scared people off.
Scared me.
And now
Me
walk-ups.
too. I was
Yeah.
the same. I haven't seen it.
So people who planned ahead are scarce, and people who are walking up are going, "Oh well, no one planned ahead," so
Yeah.
they walk on in.
Yeah.
That's my belief.
I hope it lasts. I think that's fantastic.
yeah.
So
yeah.
get over there.
Okay.
We've been talking a little bit the last 2 episodes since the first trailer came out, and there was something you said in the last episode, and I forgot to speak to it, which was you said something about we saw her character, what's her name from Carrie Russell.
Yeah, we saw
Yeah.
a
Oh, in
photo
the
in the
trailer, yeah.
Vogue.
Oh, is it a
Vanity
photo?
Fair,
It's
yeah.
a photo. Okay,
Yeah.
in Vogue. Okay, I didn't
Vanity
see that.
Fair,
Okay, okay.
Not
Leave-
Vogue.
leave-
Vogue wouldn't do
No,
these
Yeah.
it's
photos.
Leibowitz, right? The Leibowitz.
Yeah,
photos,
that whole Okay, so that was from the Vanity Fair thing because at first I thought you were talking about the trailer, and I went back and watched it, and I'm like, did I miss something? I'm missing something. What did I miss? How did I miss this? And of course, I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, you
I
just heard that
yeah.
Richard E. Grant is in it. You've heard that Carrie Russell's in it, and those photos are where we got our first look
Yeah.
at both
Got
of
it.
them.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's in helmeted costume.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking.
I think it's awesome.
A little
And I
mystery
like
there.
I like her anyway, so that'll work.
A little
Yeah, I
mystery.
think she's
And-
great casting for
Yeah. Yeah.
for this
Yeah.
universe.
Yeah.
I
And
think.
for J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
For
Of
this
course,
movie. It's
of course,
it
absolutely.
totally fits, right?
They're
Yeah.
going to work well together.
Yep.
All right, well, let's get people caught up to speed on just what Rogue One, a Star Wars story, is all about with our patented movie recap.
This is a new one.
Am I overselling it?
I know. I like it. I like it.
That's
It
awesome.
feels very regal.
And I don't think I've ever said this before, though, but it begins, just know, spoilers abound. All right? Now,
Well, if they haven't seen it, I
I'm
mean,
just
it's,
saying,
it's been available on Netflix for.
This-
although they just took it off, by
I
the way.
know.
They
yeah.
did,
Yeah.
this is a fan show. I mean, clearly.
Yes,
So
yes.
if you're coming to it, you probably know what's doing. But if you're new here, just know, watch the movie first.
But you
because,
kind of know how it ends.
yeah, well, I mean, they gave it away in 1977.
Yeah.
Well, Rogue One begins the way all the others do.
It's a peaceful life. It's lonely, I imagine.
I said it begins the way all the
Those little
others do.
Oh,
I guess it doesn't. Most of them begin with a big Star Wars
Yeah.
theme. This is just the guys talking. I guess that's because this movie is a Rogue One.
That's awesome. He used the title in the joke.
Because it's... That's what it is.
I'm waiting for you to reach across and go, stop it.
I'll have a punching you sound effect.
Paul, this movie actually begins with the ominous entrance of an officer and a small group of soldiers who arrive at a secluded home in a remote field to question a farmer about the family he is hiding.
Sean, I don't want to doubt you, but I'm pretty sure you just described the opening of Inglourious Bastards.
Well, in Rogue One, the milk is blue.
Good call. What's actually happening is the Imperial officer Orson Krennic is trying to coax weapons developer Galen Erso away from the peaceful farming life. Back to the Empire. To build weapons.
Much like Inglourious Bastards, I guess, the farmer's daughter escapes, but not before witnessing her mother's murder at the hands of the Empire. Galen is taken and Jin is raised by the head of a radical faction of the rebels, Saw Gerrera.
Better call Saul.
I think that's Saw Gerrera. Jin's an adult. Years later, the film just cuts to, 13, 15? We see different numbers online for that.
Yeah, I was looking it up. There were a couple different, I think it was 10.
I think she says 15 at one point.
Okay, we'll go with
15.
15.
Jin's an adult. She finds herself in an Empire prison work camp. Here's the Emperor talking about it.
We're going to keep families together, but we still have to maintain toughness or our country will be overrun.
Where she is freed by a group of rebels and brought to a base where she meets Mothra. Hang on. Mon Mothma. And learns that her father is indeed alive, but he has been creating the ultimate weapon in the universe.
This is my boomstick!
No, that's wrong. Actually, it's the Death Star.
Meanwhile, Gerrera...
My brother's gonna kill us. He's gonna kill us. He's gonna kill you and he's gonna kill me. He's gonna kill us.
has recently been contacted by an Imperial pilot named Bodhi Rook, who brings news of the Death Star in a message from Galen Erso.
Meanwhile, back at the farm, Cassian Andor, a rebel spy, leads the adventure to get Jin to Saw, along with a reprogrammed Imperial droid, K2SO.
Please, call me Johnny Five.
Yeah. They head to Jeddah.
The Volkswagen Jeddah.
No, it's different.
Sometimes
That's
everything just comes together.
That's not. It's a planet. To find Saw and find out that the Empire has been mining kyber crystals. They also meet up with warriors Chimyup Imwe and his mercenary friend Baze Malbus.
What a great name.
Jin makes contact with Gerrera, who shows her the message from Galen, in which he reveals he has secretly built a weakness into the Death Star and tells them to retrieve the schematics from an Imperial databank on the planet Scarif.
Scarif? They're going to Scarif? Why does nobody ever tell me anything, Artu?
On the Death Star, Krennic orders a low-powered test shot which destroys Jeddah's capital. Jin and her group take Rook and flee the moon, but Gerrera remains to die with the city.
I'm tired of fighting.
In the meantime, a computered Grand Moff Tarkin congratulates Krennic on blowing up a city, but then uses Rook's defection and security leak as a pretext to take control of the project.
I'm the captain now.
While Rook leads the rebel group to Galen's Imperial research facility on the planet Edu, where Cassian is set to kill Galen.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that was his secret mission. But he decides not to.
Oh, thank God.
But then they're attacked by rebel bombers.
Wait, what? What was waiting?
Oh, I should have mentioned that the rebels lose contact with Jin and her crew and plan to bomb the Edu base, unaware there would be rebel casualties.
Okay. All right, important safety tip. Thanks, Egan.
Galen is wounded and dies in his daughter's arms before she escapes with her group on board a stolen Imperial cargo shuttle.
Krennic is summoned by Darth Vader to answer for the attack on Edu. Krennic seeks his support for an audience with the Emperor, but Vader instead orders him to ensure no further breaches occur.
Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, Director.
Jin proposes a plan to steal the Death Star schematics using the Rebel fleet, but fails to gain approval of the Alliance Council.
We've got to protect our phony baloney job, gentlemen. We must do something about this immediately. Immediately. Harumph, 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 harumph. I didn't get a harumph out of that guy. Give the governor harumph. Harumph.
You watch your ass. Anyway, the Council feels victory against the Empire is now impossible.
Well, that's great. That's just f***ing great, man. Now what the f*** are we supposed to do? We're some real pretty shit now, man.
Jin's group leads a small squad of rebel volunteers to raid the databank themselves, arriving at Scarif on the stolen Imperial ship, which Rook dubs Rogue One. And we have a title. Yay!
On Scarif, a disguised Jin and Cassian enter the base with K2SO, while the other rebels attack the resident Imperial garrison as a diversion. The rebel fleet learns of the raid from intercepted Imperial communications and deploy in support, gearing up for a big-time fight.
And now, Paul and all of our listeners and watchers, Countdown to 9 is proud to present How They Die. K2SO sacrifices himself so Jin and Cassian can access a control room to retrieve the Death Star plans.
Imwe is killed after activating the master switch to allow communication with the rebel fleet.
Malbus dies in battle shortly afterwards.
Rook is killed by a grenade after informing the rebel fleet that it must deactivate the shield surrounding the planet to allow the transmission of the Death Star schematics.
Jin and Cassian get the plans and transmit the schematics to the rebel command ship, but they are ambushed by Krennic, who is eventually shot and wounded by Cassian. The Death Star kills Krennic, Cassian, and Jin.
Darn, that's the end.
The rebel fleet prepares to jump to hyperspace, but many of the fleet's ships are intercepted by Vader's flagship. Vader boards the rebel command ship and attempts to regain the plans, and it goes about this well for the rebels. It goes on a while. I guess you can still just go on.
Best scene of the movie, really. But one ship escapes, and the plans are received by Princess Leia, who declares that the plans will provide hope.
There you go, and that's Rogue One.
A new hope, in fact, which is... Hey! Exciting.
Very much.
Okay, right out of the gate, were you excited to see this film?
Yeah, I think so. I remember thinking what a brilliant idea to take one sentence out of the opening crawl in New Hope and make a movie out of it.
Yeah.
I actually made a movie myself out of one tiny little stupid idea.
Is that the...
Not John Knowles was a stupid idea, but what?
The I forgot the name of it. The
cheap seats.
Yes.
Where one guy in the back of the throne ceremony can't see, and his adventures.
Yeah, I love that one.
Thank you very much.
Your banter, ongoing banter.
Yeah, but just
we'll have to pull a moment from that.
Please do.
Because it's just hilarious.
It's just one long monologue.
I really love that you come in with food.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's an event.
Can you hold?
He's late because he was at the snack bar, and he's all ready to see whatever it is.
You
he's
do a great job in that film.
Thank you very much. It's I'm very proud of that.
But you were excited. You were.
I was very excited. It's weird how people, and I know we'll talk about this, but how people are upset about what's going on with Star Wars. I'm always excited to see a new Star Wars movie, and when they said we're going to do individual stories that's not about the Skywalkers, and I'm going, great, more movies. That's fantastic. So, yeah, I remember I rarely go to films with a bunch of people, but I remember I went with a group this time, and we all had a really good time. All varying ages, too. Kids who were not alive when the prequels came out, that kind of stuff, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Did the kids did you have to talk about death with the kids after? Did they already come in knowing about death?
I think they knew about it a little bit. And I believe my daughter has seen this one, too. We went back and forth about what order to show them in. Do we start with 4? Do we start with 1?
Right.
Do we do Clone Wars? Do we, what do we do?
Well, that's what we talked about when we started this. Was like, well, we're going to start.
Yeah.
Are we going to do chronological? Or
I
was like, let's do chronological.
I think it's a great way to do it, actually, and because you kind of save the best for last. I think at least, or best for middle. And the fact that I think we took her to see it because it's a Star Wars movie in the theater. It was like, well, you want to see this in the theater.
That's how I was with Force Awakens with my daughter.
Yeah, Force Awakens the same way. It's like, and and Solo. My daughter went to see Solo, and you guys talked about that last time. And
that's actually a really good kids movie, I think.
I thought it was too. And she was so concerned about Chewbacca And she's like, is he going to be okay? Is he going to be okay? And I
my,
says, I
that's sweet.
guarantee out of everybody in this movie, I can guarantee you Chewbacca makes it.
Right.
You know, I'm pretty sure Han makes it too. I don't know about the rest of the guys, but Chewbacca is going to make it. And when they meet in the pit down there, she goes, I'm scared. I said, no, this is going to be good. This is going to be really good. I heard about this, how they meet, and he lifed it and all that sort of stuff. Watch. And then Chewbacca comes out and they hug it. You know,
But you normally feel pretty good about everybody coming out of it. I mean, who do we lose in Star Wars 1977? Ben.
Yeah, really. And
so, but when you come into Rogue One, like, these are all heroes.
Your
A new set of
your
heroes.
character's brother from your film, or uncle or cousin, or whatever it was.
What was it?
Porgsley or
cousin, my cousin Porkins,
yeah.
my cousin Porkins. Yeah.
Porkins, yeah.
Oh, it's true. We lost fighter pilots.
We lost fighter pilots, but there's, I mean, in this one too, there's another Red 5 who goes down too. So I was really sad to see that. But when we get to that point, we can talk about.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I do want to say, you mentioned about the death. I have some young relatives that were really struck by the dying in Rogue One. Like, they were like, I hate this movie. I hate this movie. I don't ever want to see it again.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
so upsetting. Now they like it, but like right after they saw it, they were like, I don't like that movie at all.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that really viscerally
Sure you
affected
didn't
them.
show them Prince of Persia? Because I don't want to see that again.
No, it was
a much better game.
Yeah, but yeah, so the death definitely struck me in these.
Well, I mean, as an adult, I will admit I was surprised that people were dying, but I got to a certain point and I'm going, oh, they're not supposed to make it off. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
We lose the robot and we go, oh, okay, the droid's gone. That's all right. But then we started to lose the other guys and go, oh, now I get it. Now,
Yeah.
when they say transmitted, I'm thinking she's going to physically take the thing to the ship. It's like, no, transmitted to the ship by rebels. Oh, it goes through they don't have to get off.
So originally they did physically. They were physically taking it. I did a little bit of research about the previous edit and what they had originally shot. Because there's actually a whole sequence that's in an early trailer where
they're running on the beach, right?
Yeah, they're running on the beach and they have the plans.
I've seen that shot.
Yeah, and they literally had. And so the idea was they were physically going to take the plans. I think they were going to be the only ones who were going to get off.
Yeah, that somebody was going to actually make it.
I still wish they would have been the only ones to get off and that she would have been Rey's mother and all of that stuff. I love that.
Oh, that would have
theory.
been nice.
I just think that would have connected everything in a beautiful way and would have been really interesting and stuff.
Yeah,
but,
that could have worked.
Yeah, but I the reason I brought it up originally was, were you excited to see this, was because I was excited to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe slightly less because it wasn't a saga film or whatever,
Right.
But I was interested. I was very interested to see what is this Disney, a Star Wars story. What is it going to be? How are they going to make it and stuff? And one of the first things I said to my wife after we watched it, she's like, "So, what'd you think? Did you like it?" And I was like, I think it's a really, really well-made film. And I felt like it was the first Star Wars movie to me that it didn't, I hate to say it, but my initial reaction was it didn't matter in terms of my enjoyment of Star Wars. Like, I could watch it or I could not. It wouldn't take away from my enjoyment of Star Wars.
All right.
I think it's a fantastically made film. And if it was like the only, like if all the other Star Wars movies didn't exist and this was like my only sense of what Star Wars was, it'd be like, that's an awesome movie. So I think it's a great film. But that was my first reaction, was like, yeah, but I just don't know how much it matters.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the only one I've seen twice from the Disney Star Wars. Is that what we're calling them now? Just Disney Star Wars?
Disney Star Wars.
And then Disney Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I did see Force Awakens twice, but it took a while. This one, I went back to watch it again. I mean, because I love the original trilogy. You'll find that out next week when we get there.
Yes.
Again, we're going chronologically.
Yeah.
And so this harkened back to that time and reflected those
Absolutely.
great films that I loved. And I got excited because I went to Celebration in Anaheim in 2015 and saw the Force Awakens trailer. Then the next day they had a teaser for this, which was nothing except, like, they hadn't even announced what they're making. They're just doing standalones. So they had like a shot of the horizon, and then just slowly, like, into focus, the Death Star appears. And you're like, what's going on? The guy came out and said, here's what we're doing. And I was like, so.
That's pretty cool.
I was
That's pretty
excited.
cool.
Yeah.
Totally different experience too, though. I mean, because you were at this celebration, I'm sure the feeling was, excitement and all of that stuff. So that's cool, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were talking before we started taping about returning to last week's show about Sean's claim that Solo was not a flop. This was not a flop. No,
Definitely
no question
not.
about it.
No,
So
no.
200 to $265 million budget. I've seen varying reports.
Yep. Which, by the way, if you say 265, Solo was 270, right?
I think that's the most expensive, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's only slightly shy of this, and they had to make Solo almost twice. Just saying.
Right. Yeah, they made it twice.
Although, by the way, the original and one of the original intents, I think, from what I had heard in production with regard to Rogue One, was that they also wanted to explore trying to make these movies for less. Although I don't know what the 265 actually represents.
But clearly they brought in Godzilla director Gareth Edwards and not Monsters director Gareth Edwards.
Isn't that's the Star Trek formula? You make every odd movie for less than you made the even movies, and what do you know? It's not a better. Well,
that showed.
I was going to try really hard not to bring up Star Trek, but the odd ones were not as good because they tried to save money on each one. According to William Shatner, at least, and the even ones were good because they threw more money at it. Okay, we made a lot of money, let's spend less, and then you get 5. So it's just
what was the one where they went to San Francisco?
Star Trek 5. Spock shoots God in the face.
San Francisco one. Yeah.
What was the San Francisco one?
Voyage Home.
Voyage Home. Yeah,
4. That was great.
And it was a wonderful movie. They probably saved a ton of money by filming it on
It was
location,
fun.
so.
It was a fun movie. I would say it was a fun. I actually really liked Search for Spock. Here, look at us talking about Star Trek on a Star Wars show. Let's do it. Come on.
My bad. But no,
you're good.
You think about it, the Nicholas Meyer ones, 2, 4, and 6. 2 that he directed, 1 that he helped write were some of the best ones. I mean, so he's got a really good attitude about it.
So $500 million is what Rogue One goes on to make domestically, and $1 billion worldwide. So Star Wars, I still say, even with Solo being a chink in the armor, if you're gonna spend $200 to $265 million, only do it for Marvel or Star Wars. Those are sure bets.
Yeah,
Right.
Although, is it Star Wars that is not popular? I think in China, like I think it's China that there's a country that's like they just don't care about Star Wars at all. And it does not do well in that country. I think it's China.
Okay.
I could be
do they have movie theaters in China?
They do.
They make a lot of movies for China.
They make a lot of movies. Yeah. So
well, this is a dumb piece of crap, but China will love it. Next thing you know, makes $100 million overseas. Right.
Can anybody say Fast and Furious?
Yeah. Those are huge overseas. Those are huge overseas. Yeah. So let's talk about the story. It's I think people love it because people love dark Star Wars. They just do. What's your favorite original trilogy? Empire, because it's dark. So they love this one too for that reason. And I think the story gets set up a little wonky pace-wise. Watching it again recently, it's kind of like, here's a scene, then Giacchino's score takes him to the next location. Here's a scene, then Giacchino's score takes him to the next location. And then when they get into the heist, that's when it kind of gets into motion.
To be honest, I watched it again recently as well, and I was like, when are they going to get to the heist? I just remember, don't they go to the planet and they take the thing and they're done? I was like, oh, there's all this stuff.
Lead into
all this lead up Saw Gerrera. There's a whole scene with Saw Gerrera, and I'm like, oh, that's right. Forrest Whitaker's in this, And I did not enjoy it, but I just went, oh, there's a whole lot of other movie before what I remember the movie being about.
Well, there is, and I will, these podcasts are mostly love fest, but I'm always the guy who chimes in with something that I gotta shake my fist at the clouds about. And there is a penchant for these movies to be overwritten. It's almost like Lawrence Kasdan or whoever follows in his wake, in this case 7 writers, throw a bunch of stuff at the screen, then peel away what they don't want. And instead of, they should take a cue from South Park. South Park writes their shows. They never write, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. They say, this happened, therefore, this happens, therefore, this happens. And, for a dopey cartoon show, that's a pretty sound methodology for writing.
Yeah.
And so here you always get, all these movies have scenes you could just take out and they don't mean anything. Like Poe Dameron, for example. Take him out of The Force Awakens entirely, the movie doesn't change. So they didn't bring him in to really give him anything to affect the change of the film entirely. Canto Bight, Last Jedi, take it out. No one's the wiser. It's a complete waste of time. And here they have a whole creature that comes up to Rook, and so Saw Gerrera goes, he's going to suck your brain out, and he'll get the truth out of you, but you might go mad. So they suck they put the things inside of his head and they suck his memory out and they get the truth out of him. Then he doesn't go mad.
doesn't go
No,
mad.
why did we bring it up that he goes mad if we're not going to do it?
Well, I would argue that he does go mad for a short time.
For a second, they go, "You're a pilot," and he goes, "Oh yeah," and he's back. I don't know. I just think this kind of stuff.
I don't know.
You take
I
that
feel
out.
like it's motivated.
You
but-
take that out, movie's not worse. And so those
Yeah.
are the type of things I think you could just lose in these films.
Well, I think what you're touching on is something that bothers me about these films, and that is there's a sense to me that there's a groupthink in big corporations, like Disney, where they're going, okay, we're gonna have a meeting about Star Wars, and we're gonna talk about what makes a Star Wars movie, and we're gonna spitball what makes a Star Wars movie. So they got their dry erase board behind them, and like somebody's like, always has a droid. Great, always has a droid. All right. There's a big conflict. Okay, there's a big conflict. Okay. Somebody wants something. Okay. Maybe there's love. Whatever it is.
R2
right.
and 3PO.
Yeah, R2 and
Gotta give
3PO.
him a
Very
cameo.
good. That's very good. You get a gold star. You're gonna not have to buy lunch today. I mean, so I bring that up because I feel like that's part of what you're seeing is the people who are making these films are, for the most part, of our generation. They have a love for these films as well. And so they are bringing to the table the things that maybe they notice, they see, they love about these movies. And some of those things for us as fans are awesome. They're like all these little tidbits, but then they're also like start to feel, to me, formulaic. And maybe that was what I felt at the end of watching Rogue One, was that I felt like I had seen something that was perhaps formulaic.
Wow. See, I thought by the end they had taken so many risks, especially with character death, that they avoided that. But
I would agree that it's not formulaic in terms of this is
their formula.
It's their formula for a Star Wars film. Now, certainly not in terms of the story. They took awesome risks. I mean, I love the risks they took. I mean, who would have thought that all these people were going to die?
Right.
And the way they die, like on the beach and like we're just going to watch ourselves die, And by the way, I love that moment.
It's a nice
mainly because it's not a romantic moment. It's a friend moment.
It's a friend moment.
It's a friend moment, and it's still love, which I think is brilliant, quite frankly. So, and that does speak to the brilliance of the film. So I don't want to sound like I'm dogging it.
I was doing a brief tangent to just say I wish you could take that scene out of the movie. It's unnecessary, and there's a lot of that, and in the universe as a whole in Disney Star Wars.
Well, I would like to see them stop putting in robots. I would like. I mean, as main characters all the time. Like I feel like they're like, oh, well, there's always a C-3PO or there's always a robot. So okay, we got to have BB-8. Okay, now we've got to have K2SO. Okay, now Solo had the Lando's robot. I forgot her name.
Who got put in the ship?
Yeah, which I thought was great and a great motivation, and it totally worked. And again, it was like script-wise, brilliant. But at the same token, as soon as I was sitting in the theater watching that, I was like, really, another robot character? Okay, I guess.
The way I understood it is K2SO was supposed to be the anti-3PO.
Yes.
That he was a black version of 3PO. Literally, they drew him originally as a black version of 3PO,
Yes.
and then that he was everything that 3PO wasn't.
Yes.
And I think... I don't know if that was necessary to the story or anything, but that was certainly what I understand they wanted in the film.
It was played brilliantly.
Yes.
Alan Tudyk.
I mean,
you never have a bad movie, entirely bad movie, when you have Alan Tudyk
That's
or
right.
Ben Mendelsohn in it.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
two good casting choices. there.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I think it was played brilliantly. I think the character of K2SO was great and engaging, and and even when he died, you actually like, oh my god, like you actually felt something for this robot.
Yikes.
So as much as I am complaining about it, I'm also heralding it as fantastically brilliant. So I'm the yin and yang of myself.
And if you like Animal Kingdom, the old movie, or the television show Bloodline, then you're a Ben Mendelsohn fan. And I like, it's an awkward word, but the Ben Mendelsohn sans. Is that a thing? Like a renaissance for Ben Mendelsohn?
Yeah, okay.
The fact that he's coming to his own now, he's nothing but blockbusters for this guy, with Ready Player One and Rogue One and one I'm forgetting.
Right. There you go.
Another one.
But they're blockbusters.
Can I take a tangent?
Sure.
Speaking of Alan Tudyk, my wife and I saw this wonderful play last night at the Geffen Playhouse called Mysterious Circumstances.
Was he in it?
Alan Tudyk played Sherlock Holmes in this, but he also played, and somebody I did not know was a person until I was introduced to him, and it's going to take about 12 pages to get into the cast. Let me see. He played a character called Richard Lancelin Green, who apparently was like the expert on Sherlock Holmes, a real person that lived and was the kind of, we talked about earlier, the kind of person that you could talk to and he would just talk about Sherlock Holmes and whatever. And he actually died under mysterious circumstances. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the play yet. But Alan Tudyk plays both characters, plays Green and Sherlock Holmes investigating Green's death, oddly enough, in their flashbacks. It's a weird thing, but I reaffirm my fanness of Alan Tudyk from this play, saying how brilliant he is. Not only just the voices he uses for the characters, he's got a very Jeremy Brett-esque Sherlock Holmesy voice in it, but also the fact that he's just wonderful. He's just a wonderful actor to watch, and in live in theater, and we've seen him live a couple of times in other like Spamalot. We got to see him in, and
you got to
stuff.
see that.
We got
The one I wish I saw.
He was Lancelot in the show we saw.
Yeah,
so.
the one I wish I saw was Bunny Bunny, which is the Alan Zweibel's book, where it's two characters talking. It's he and Gilda Radner. He was an SNL writer who wrote many of the great sketches for Gilda. My wife and I did that play, and there's a third character who comes in as well. There's a third actor who comes in as like 30 different characters during all the different scenes that Alan and Gilda play out in the play. And yeah, he did it. Bruno Kirby was Alan, I think, in the off-Broadway original production, and I would love to have seen him play 30 characters.
Yeah.
I mean, how great would he have been?
Yeah,
you know, and I'm sure he was.
And this was a play where the other 5 or 6 people played all the other characters in this too, including Watson
that's
and
cool.
different things. And
like a trunk show.
And there's times where it's very Kirk fighting Kirk. Star Trek again, Kirk fighting Kirk, where Green and Sherlock Holmes are on stage at the same time. So he has a brilliant double in the play that looks even front on looks just like Alan Tudyk. So it was, he's on the, they meet each other and they're the same actor essentially.
Brilliant.
It was done. Anyway, I wanted to mention that since we're talking about Alan Tudyk.
And of course, Firefly. I mean, he's great.
Since we're talking about Alan Tudyk and we're talking about the performances in the film in general, I just think the cast in Rogue One is tremendous.
Very good.
In general. I mean, I mean, just all of them are just absolutely incredible. And I think they bring a reality to it that we haven't, like just a level of acting and a level of like performance. And it's something that we've talked a lot about with the prequels, that for me, the biggest thing that was missing with the prequels,
Han Solo.
Han Solo.
Yes.
Was any sense of real stakes. I never, ever really felt like these characters really felt like they were in trouble, with the exception of Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor, and sometimes Hayden Christensen. He definitely was, exploring and finding things and stuff like that. But there was a lot of, and of course, Palpatine. Who's amazing always, but there was so much of a sense of like, I don't feel the stakes. I don't feel like you think you're gonna die. I feel like you're gonna be okay.
part of the problem with the prequels is you kind of know who's going to survive by the end, no matter how much trouble Obi-Wan gets in. I know he's going to make it at least one more movie. But Liam Neeson, he was a total wild card. I was like, why haven't we heard of him before?
Right.
Oh, okay, because he didn't make it.
Dead.
The third blockbuster Ben Mendelsohn was in was Captain Marvel. Of course, he's in that.
He's
one of the.
I want to say the Scrolls.
He is.
Yeah, okay. I remember. Okay,
also
Love Captain Marvel, one of my faves.
Me too.
One of my faves.
Me too.
Absolutely love that movie.
Now, I'm down on Rogue One again. Trust me, I like it, but I wish an actor played Tarkin. I'm just going to say I wish an actor played Tarkin.
He kind of did.
But he was computered to death.
But it was his voice and body, though, wasn't it?
It was his voice, and ultimately it really was his performance, because it was motion capture. So really it was his performance.
Again, I wish it was a guy who, when you see him staring at the Death Star, turns around to the camera and goes, hey, I kind of look like Peter Cushing. Can we get on with the movie? Because I couldn't sometimes. I looked at him like, this weird robot face with the computers. And then we see Mon Mothma. They didn't take the old Mon Mothma and computer her. They just got another actress, and we went fine. In fact, they got an actress that looked a hell of a lot.
I mean,
like,
she looks so much like her.
If
like,
they can
how's that,
find two Alan Tudyks for your stage show, they can get another. They can get another Tarkin. There's a guy out there who looks like Peter Cushing.
Well, did you see the makeup job they did in episode 3 when he's standing there next to Vader and Palpatine looking at the skeleton of the Death Star? If you see a close-up picture, I mean, from far back, I was like, oh, okay, that's Peter Cushing. If you see the makeup up close, it's hideous. It's,
really?
It's cheekbones out to here and sunken eyes and everything. You know,
I thought that. Yeah, I thought that did
horrible.
not. Yeah, I didn't think it looked good at all.
No, the makeup was not the way to go on that. And I kind of agree with you a little bit. I love seeing Tarkin, but every once in a while I'm going, no.
Let's get a guy to play him. I distract him because he's good in it. He's almost a little too steely. He's almost like he never moved or you know. But I enjoyed
well, I'm
it.
sure that probably was a direction. You know, like we're already gonna have to do all of this stuff with your face.
Yeah.
The more you move, the more work we have to do.
It was almost like watching Anton Ego in the Empire. Ratatouille reference for the kids.
Nice. All two of them watching.
All right, so let's talk about the making of this movie because much like Solo last week, these standalones can't catch a break and just be a director's vision beginning to end. It has to be a whole bunch of nonsense. And so this had, if I'm not mistaken, first of all, you mentioned John Knoll came up with the idea like 10 years before this was ever a thing, and a good idea at that. And John Knoll, legend, right? So you listen to him, and finally that came to fruition. Chris Weitz, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't know if it's Weitz or Weitz. I've never pronounced it. I've only seen it in writing. But getting him to write this script eventually, after a number of other people came in and out of the scene, is a total move right out of Marvel. Because Chris Weitz directed he wrote American Pie. You know, he wrote like one of the Twilight movies and some other stuff. So he's like choosing the guy who made The Breakup to direct Ant-Man, or the guy who made Sinister to make Doctor Strange. These are great Marvel risky choices that just work because you have Kevin Feige running the ship. I wonder if Kathleen Kennedy has as firm a grasp as she would like over this whole franchise, because they keep getting into these stumbles with the standalones where you can't get a guy who's the right choice, and she doesn't seem to be seeing the whole thing through to the end. I don't know. What do you think about that?
She gets a lot of blame for it, regardless of whether she got. They blame her for the non-success of Solo, and you know, and I'm like, weren't they asking for her resignation or firing or whatever at some point? The diehard star, for the Last Jedi, for saying, oh, that was terrible, she should be fired or whatever. And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't think it was just her. Second of all, I don't think it's a bad movie anyway. I mean, Last Jedi, but yeah, and it never is, and I don't think it comes down to one person. Movies are made by hundreds of people, and I don't know.
Especially even in the creative stage. I mean, there's artwork and concepts and meetings and group. I mean, again, groupthink. Hey, what do you think of? I mean, it is that. I mean, that's sort of where it lives, and ultimately,
does it have to be? Because we were just talking about Quentin Tarantino. And that's his vision. Like, he makes his movies, and that's his thing. Well, but if you come into a franchise, then you just got to let that go, and you have to submit to the will of the company group mind.
Well, Robert Rodriguez, his buddy, is the same way. He's start to finish. That's his baby. He works down in Texas and does it all his own. But he got in trouble for, it was either Sin City. I think it was for Sin City. He wanted Frank Miller to direct, to co-direct with him. The DGA said, and I fact check me if I'm wrong, the DGA said, no, we can't do it. And he says, fine, I quit.
He did, yeah.
You know,
I've read that.
I quit. Frank's going to do this. We're doing our thing. And they're like, oh, okay, we can't stop you. But yeah, when you get into a franchise, you get into a Disney movie, period, regardless of it being Star Wars or Marvel's, you've got certain standards you've got to adhere to, and so many people to answer to, I would assume. And yeah, how do you preserve that vision as a director if you got all these people telling you what you have to do?
Well, here's the question. I mean, you know, we go back and forth a lot, and probably even longer discussion when we get to it, but you know, The Last Jedi is a great example of this, because a lot of people say, well, The Last Jedi failed because it's Rian Johnson's. It's, you know, he wrote and directed it, and it's his fault. He did it, and I always argue, okay, J.J. Abrams is listed as the executive producer. I'm pretty sure he read the script, and I know for a fact that Rian Johnson was writing the script while they were working on The Force Awakens. I'm pretty sure they talked.
Well, you guys
couple
talked,
of times.
You guys talked about the dice in the last episode.
Yeah.
How that was all supposed to carry through.
Yeah, how that was going to carry through.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like that, to your point, can there be a singular person who can come in and create a vision? It's a tough question. I think the answer lies in them finishing out the Skywalker saga. I really
Just
do.
moving on from there.
I think that the Mandalorian really is going to be in some ways a test, a big test, because I think because doesn't it takes place during the original trilogy of Star Wars, right?
I do not know.
I think in between
the
6,
third and the
6
fourth,
and 7.
maybe. Oh, is it that? Okay.
I think in between 6 and 7, but I'm not positive.
Okay, but either way, they want it. I mean, it's going to be something over here, which Rogue One kind of is, kind of not, kind of is, kind of not, So I think that's really what they're. I think once that happens, you can have, like Jon Favreau, you can have somebody come in and be like, "Great guys, this is the vision for this series. All right, let's go." I think until this gets finished out. That's why, like, some people are like, "Oh, I really wish they would do." I don't know. I heard somebody recently say, "I wish they would do a Princess Leia standalone film. I wish they would do." Somebody's like, "I wish they would do a Boba Fett. I wish they would do this." And it's like, honestly, as much as I love those characters, I don't. I think that you're only going to get people who are really angry if you don't get it right and to their version of what that's supposed to be. Or maybe you're going to get something close, but I just think it's dangerous. So I think the safest thing is for them to let's finish this out, and I hope that Rise of Skywalker is as great as I hope it to be.
So would you say no to a Black Widow movie?
We're talking Marvel Black Widow.
Yeah.
Isn't that in production or about to come out?
I've heard.
I've heard they're working on something.
But I don't know if
I
don't know if the Phase 4 has been announced yet.
honestly,
Comic-Con's going to handle that.
I honestly would love a Black Widow movie because I think she's superbly interesting, and Scarlett Johansson's great in the role. I think it's an interesting character to explore. But I also think this is the danger. Star Wars is not Marvel. And I think that I think that Disney is finding that out the hard way.
Everybody's trying to Marvel their franchise.
They're trying to Marvelize their
Only
franchise.
Marvel, DC tried and failed.
Yeah, and look, Marvel is a unique entity, and my understanding is Kevin Feige or however you say his last name, Feige. Yeah. Is really the mastermind behind the 20 years of movies and all of this stuff, and really had this overall concept of how these were going to tie together. Maybe not all the details, but an overall sense. You're talking about trying to tie together stuff that was, the original Star Wars movie was really made as a standalone film. Mm-hmm. The fact that it was successful meant there was going to be a sequel, and then the sequel was successful, and so there was a lot of let's keep going, So there isn't really a great connective tissue other than the overall story of with Skywalker and the Jedi. I mean, the elements are kind of there, but it's not the same as the Marvel universe. So I think there are things and we've talked about it in the last episode, too many Star Wars movies back to back. I don't think Star Wars fans are used to that, and I don't think they want it. I think they want to be, for lack of a better word, I can't even think of another word. They want to be titillated. They want to be like, oh, it's coming. Oh, there's some pictures. I found some pictures online of the new Star Wars film. There's 2 pictures. They came out. Oh my God. I mean, when Force Awakens was in development and they had the first script reading, and they came out with that black and white picture, which was a throwback to everything we loved about the 70s Star Wars. And it's all black and white, and you've seen oh my God, there's the cast. Who the hell does this person play? And wait, it reveals nothing. There's R2-D2 in a box in that picture, and it reveals nothing. So I think there are certain little things to learn about the Star Wars franchise that are different.
Can I ask you? I want to ask a question to you and your millions of listeners as well.
Millions.
I'm sorry.
It's just us hitting watch again.
Tens of millions. Sorry. In this
all bots.
In this day and age, where people binge watch things. Okay, Stranger Things 3 just came out.
Right.
I've heard from people they've already seen it. They watched the whole thing. It's already done.
Yeah.
And they're waiting for more. And people were jumping up and down about it. Took over a year for the next Game of Thrones season to come out. Now you've got a bunch of people or a society that consumes things like that. They'll watch 12 episodes in a row. They'll go to another show and watch 12 episodes in a row. Why don't Star Wars fans who could be some of these same people, why don't they want as much Star Wars as much as they can? One of the things I always liked about Star Trek again was that there was an episode every week. You would Next Generation at least had 25 to 26 episodes a year,
right?
And you watched all those, and then you had another season, blah blah blah. Meanwhile, I don't think there was there wasn't a Star Trek series on while Star Wars were coming out. But if you think about it, you had 3 or 4 seasons of Star Trek in between Star Wars movies. So you get like one movie, 3 years later you get another movie, 3 years later. Why don't people want to see that much Star Wars? Why is it so much different than everything else we binge watch? Because I think I might be in a very small minority that I'll see The Last Jedi and go, when's the next one coming out? What's next?
That's interesting.
So and I don't fault people for saying that. I mean, I grew up on the 3 years between Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have a Star Trek movie in between each Star Wars movie, I think it would have died. Because you have Star Wars, then you have the motion picture, then you have Empire Strikes Back, then you have the Wrath of Khan. It's like, okay, I'm fine.
Right.
It's every 2 years.
Cause
now.
of death movies with a lack of star in the title.
Right. Yeah.
That's the only movies I would watch as a kid. So.
Well, that's why I think personally that once they finish off this Skywalker saga, I think the rules are going to change.
Will we do one a year again? Or
I think personally, I think a lot of it's going to shift to streaming media content and series. I think that is.
I would love to see a Star Wars series.
I personally think that's more the wave of the future. Not to say that they're not going to do Star Wars films, because I know that I heard from somebody that they've already announced that they are going to do an episode 10 that is not, but it will not be a Skywalker movie.
I think there's another trilogy planned too.
Well, the episode 10 is supposed to be the first of the guys from Game of Thrones. Then I was asking my buddy who told me this, well, what about the Rian Johnson trilogy? And that has not been talked about. Of course, I think we're all waiting to see, like, are the fans who are really upset about that with The Last Jedi, is that going to get resolved in episode 9? I mean, there's all these theories. But to your question, that's my take. I think once we get through this, I think
we can just hold on long enough.
Yeah, I think the rules are going to change, and I think the rules can change a little bit, because now Disney's going to have a little bit more control. They're dealing with an IP that has a lot of elements to it. They really made a lot of they alienated a lot of fans when they said, yeah, these books aren't canon anymore. A lot of fans went, whoa, what do you mean? And there are other people like me who didn't read the books. I don't have,
me either.
I didn't care about when they said that. I was like, all right, I don't care.
Okay.
It doesn't matter to me at all. So anyway, what do you think?
What was the question?
Why can't people binge watch Star Wars?
I'd love to have an answer for you, but it's a complete intangible. I mean, Marvel puts out 4 movies in a year, and Spider-Man made $135 million its opening weekend. People are ready for it, and they want it. But yet Solo took a tank, and The Last Jedi made $600 million domestically. I mean, and then probably over $1 billion. I haven't checked globally. So the year wait on that, people wanted it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a complete intangible.
I've just wondered.
I mean, again, they're all trying to do the Marvel thing. Like I said, the Universal Monsters gave it a go. Got about 2 movies in, and we're like, nope, can't do it. Like no one can do it.
Yeah.
Well, I also wonder too. Like, I think Rogue One is unique, because I do think, as much as I said that, like, to me, I could see Rogue One or not, and I would be okay.
Right.
I do have a respect for the film. I think it's an incredibly well-made film. I think it's a beautiful film, and I think that type of story for a Star Wars story, honestly, is maybe in some ways more what the fans would be interested in. I mean, there's so many people, and we talked about it on the last show, who said with Solo, I didn't ask for a Solo movie. And it's like, okay, that's interesting. You didn't ask for a Solo movie. You didn't ask for Rogue One, for sure, but a lot of people liked it. And maybe it's because there was so much about it that was a question mark. Rogue One, oh, okay, it's the guys who stole the plans. We don't know anything about them. We don't know who they are. Everything's a setup. Yeah. We don't know the characters. We don't know, and none of it. It's just blank slate. In the Star Wars universe, here's your blank piece of paper. There you go.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Maybe that works better. Maybe that's part of what it is.
Yeah, and people have their own expectations about what happened to Han Solo when he was younger, and from the books or from the comics or whatever. And yeah, it's it's the other Star franchises' problem. They tend to keep going back into the past to fill in
Right.
the gaps. And do we really want that? Let's go into the next century and see what's happening.
And some people have argued, should we go, Knights of the Old Republic if we're going to go back?
Oh, if we're going to go back, go all the way back.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
people have said that's what the Game of Thrones guys are doing.
Oh, interesting.
Well, that way.
Well, they would be great at that. I mean, come on, it'd be awesome.
Quick list of things I like.
Okay.
I felt bad going on the writing
All
issue earlier and crapping on it. So here's some things I like. I like the fact that you can see the red in Vader's mask.
Yes.
Which is an early Star Wars
love
thing that they improved and they went back to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you think about the super advanced technology they have in the prequels, and you kind of go, huh? Because that's certainly way advanced than years later when we hit Star Wars and Empire. I kind of like that they embraced old school technology and shoddy looking things in this. And I like the photography. That's a great out in front choice for Gareth Edwards to not do still tripods and all that. He's doing You Are There type stuff.
A lot of handheld,
He went green grass with it without going full green grass though, because only green grass can edit his shaky cam footage into something brilliant. So it was still shaky cam, but somehow not obnoxious at all. I really enjoyed it.
Which, by the way, just to jump in on that real quick, I'm a big fan of the look of the film. When they did Force Awakens, they made a decision that they wanted to shoot Force Awakens on film, which they did. They went back to film for Force Awakens. For Rogue One, this was the first one, of course, that was done digitally. They shot on the Arri Alexa 65, which I believe shoots. They actually shot it in 6K, and then I think they probably dumped it down to 4K or whatever for delivery. But most cinematographers feel that the Arri Alexa delivers the most filmic digital image, and I would agree. I mean, I think if you look at Rogue One and you compare the look of the images to what we saw in Force Awakens, it's not like you're pulled out.
Right.
I mean, it's not a fair comparison to compare it to Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, which were some of the original digitally made films, because the technology has just improved so much. But there's definitely a difference and they've learned a lot about how to make these cameras, and there's a lot done in post to make these images look. They add grain and they add all this stuff. So anyway, to your point, yes, looks beautiful. Go on.
Yeah, and that DP's name is Greg Fraser.
Yeah.
If that's how you pronounce Greg when it has an I in it. So I don't know.
Krieg.
Yeah, Krieg. And I also just like watching the day-to-day plight of the rebels, like when you see on Jeddah, right, where there's just stormtroopers marching the streets, and then they whip up the idea that, all right, now we're going to attack them, and our heroes are kind of in the middle of it, like, what's happening?
Well,
yeah, they're up on the rooftops. They're just going to start shooting everybody. It's like, it's crazy. And it's sad, too, that, like, now you get to see the Empire in action, just sort of as much as I didn't like Bush, as much as I don't like Trump, there aren't tanks on the street yet. But if tanks on the street brings out a different feel and a different kind of people,
right.
and I think that's displayed well in Rogue One for a crazy, fantasy movie. But I enjoyed seeing that because you kind of didn't get it before. It added context to what we're really fighting for when you get to episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Well, if I understand correctly, that's based on actual occupied cities on Earth with the rubble and the crashed ships, and they tried to, first kind of had like a Vietnam thing in the Scarif battle, I think, and then, but yeah, Jeddah was supposed to be what you would find in some of the occupied towns in the Middle East or whatever, all the rubble and the buildings and the troops all over the place. So.
And apparently there was a big battle that was supposed to, that I don't know if they shot and they cut or what, but that actually happened.
Oh, the reason the X-Wing crashed in the street.
The reason the X-Wing is there. It's a leftover image from that whole storyline that got cut.
Something had happened, and that's what it came into.
Yeah.
I want to move on to something else, but one more thing you can give shout out that you love is the score.
Oh, yes. I have to talk about Michael Giacchino. I think the score is amazing. I also think it's interesting, they replaced the score. I think he only had a month to do the score because they had someone else who originally had done the score. And for whatever reason, they decided I think it had to do with the reshoots. That was what I read, was that when they did the reshoots and they changed whatever the ending was and whatever, I think, personally, what I think happened was whoever did the original score, because I went back and found the teaser trailer for
which
with all
had that stuff that's not in there.
All that stuff that's not in there, and it has music, I'm assuming, from the original composer, and the music's fine, but it is certainly not darkly emotive, which I think Michael Giacchino captures in a beautiful way. I mean, he really digs into the emotions, and I also think he does a great job of doing the stuff that he does, which I think is really always beautiful. I love his work. But then he also has these little homages to Star Wars moments. He's got just, I mean, it could be literally like a phrase, and it's like, that's from A New Hope. That's from, and I mean, it's literally just these little things, and he's so specific with it. And I also want to say there's one moment that I don't think is in any other Star Wars film that I loved, and that is when the one of the Star Destroyers, when they actually destroy it and when they push it with the thing and it goes down, there's no sound design, it's just music.
Ooh.
And that, I don't think we've ever experienced that in a Star Wars film. We have had no music and just sound design, but we had never had just music over something like that, and sort of forlorn kind of music that's like, yay, we're winning, but people are dying.
all those custodians and cafeteria workers, and
so it actually is my it is my favorite score next to The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, then let's get on to talking about Robert. Wait, no,
yes, please.
Anything else we want to talk about with the Fallout? 2 Oscar nominations, sound mixing, to your point, and visual effects. They lost to Hacksaw Ridge in The Jungle Book, but they got 2 Oscar nominations for that. And I went to see Star Wars Secrets of the Empire. Have you ever been to the Void in Glendale and done the virtual reality experience there?
No, but I've heard about some of these. They're supposed to be incredible.
The Ghostbusters one is phenomenal.
Oh, okay.
But they have a Star Wars one, Secrets of the Empire, and it's based on this. The little video you see beforehand is Cassian talking about the adventure he's sending you on. You're infiltrating some Empire base dressed like a stormtrooper, and K2SO is there, and he's flying the ship that gets you there, and you have this huge adventure, and it's really cool.
Awesome.
So I thought it was cool that of all the movies they picked Rogue One to like give a little love to. Again, that's a Marvel move.
Well, also too, to bring this up, what do you think about? So they're supposed to be doing this Cassian Andor series.
Really?
Have you heard this? There's some rumor mill saying that that's going to be one of the other live action series is about Cassian Andor, and I guess whatever he did and all of that stuff to get
sure he's
into
got
that moment.
Cool adventures in him.
Diego Luna, right? That's his name. I think he is just magnificent in that role. I love. I mean,
it's well underplayed.
Yeah, he looks. Yeah, and that's the thing. He looks like he's struggling. He looks like he there is something to lose. Maybe it's just his mind. Maybe it's just his own humanity. Maybe he's afraid of losing that. I mean, right out of the gate, he shoots his friend because he's got to get the hell out of there.
That set the tone for the whole movie.
That sure
right?
did, yeah.
I mean, he's like, it's okay, and he shoots him in the gut.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's quieter that way.
Yeah.
And that guy was all sorts of like not in the right frame of mind.
He was
that guy was a little
out.
calmer. The two of them might have had an adventure together.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love. I'm interested to see what if they do actually do that. What that would be.
So Robert,
yes, sir.
Star Wars and its accompanying universe inspired you to make short films.
It did. It inspired me to become a filmmaker in general.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's our show now.
Me too.
Good night.
You know what's interesting? I've been wanting to talk about that actually because I think that Star Wars is single-handedly responsible for a huge influx of people wanting to make motion pictures.
Yeah. Well, in my experience, it was the first time I was ever interested in how they made movies because they were really good about it, especially in 77, 78 of I guess they were just on TV. They must have just been on TV. They would show these specials on behind the scenes, how they made stuff. They would show the blue screen. They would show how the lightsabers work. They would show the droids falling over and all this sort of stuff.
The ships and
Ben
all that.
Ben Bird out at the telephone pole, smacking it with a wrench.
Oh my God!
I did that. Yeah. I went out to a thing with a microphone and did the sound effect and it didn't work. But I wasn't in San Francisco, I guess.
You're no Ben Bird.
I know. No,
it's like you got to hit the right part.
Yeah, but I saw that, and I don't know if I specifically said I can do that, but I went that is very interesting.
I want to do that.
I want to do that, and it just got better with each movie. And I remember by Return of the Jedi, there was a huge I wish I remember what it's called, but huge special that showed the guys in Jabba, the puppeteers,
Yeah.
and that, and just showed basically every aspect. And I actually picked up a book in my high school library that was like a production journal, and they said this is what we shot first, and they shot like the Ewok village first was like the first day of shooting, and the last day of shooting was blue screen on the sail barge, and it just took you through the whole production, and it was I was fascinated by it, and that's probably what got me started.
And so Reeves Reel.
Yes.
At Vimeo. You can see all the shorts there. We mentioned one, Cheap Seats. That's also my personal favorite.
Thank you.
And if we didn't fully explain the plot before, go there and check it out. It is the award, the medal ceremony at the end of Star Wars, and some rebel fighter has awful seats to watch it, and he's complaining about it and annoying everybody around it. But Padme is the one where you win an award that's tied into Lucas directly.
It is called the George Lucas Selects Award, and the way that used to work is George Lucas would select his favorite fan film from the contest. Now, whether he looked at all the entries, I don't know. I assume he looked at maybe a dozen.
I was going to say, they said, the finals.
They said, here's our top picks. What do you think? And he would actually watch them, and then he would announce. My ceremony was at Comic-Con. Sometimes it was at Celebration. Sometimes it was at Comic-Con. But mine was at Comic-Con. And when they go to announce the award, they say, and here's George Lucas to announce the award.
Oh, my God.
And he goes, and blah, 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 blah.
There or in video?
In video.
In video.
Yeah, which... I would have...
Still, but yeah, still. Yeah.
I was standing behind... And that's another story. Anyway, he announced it, and he says, the best... I think he said the title of the film first, so it kind of threw me. I was like, Padme, oh, that's mine. And he goes, directed by Robert Reeves. Congratulations, Robert, you did a great job. And I was talking to Mary Franklin, who used to work for Lucasfilm, was kind of the fan coordinator of that or whatever it was. And towards the, I would say, well, yeah, he told me I did a good job. She goes, no, he said you did a great job. And he said, he really enjoyed that. I'm like, and just the fact that George Lucas knew who I was for 5 minutes, maybe knew my name, said my name, knew, probably doesn't even remember recording it now. But the fact that I was in the same, breath as George Lucas was in the universe, and I was thrilled. And I, of course, didn't make it alone. Kevin Walsh wrote it. Jason Ginsberg co-produced it, and he was like everybody that was in a mask. If you ever saw a mask, he was 3PO. He was Palpatine.
Oh, okay,
yeah. So he was our go-to guy for the mask.
And I should mention the hook it's Padme via the movie Juno.
Juno. It's we noticed a similarity to the plots of both movies. An unwanted pregnancy that you wanted to give away eventually had to be given away to adoptive parents, and that was the idea. Is Juno, Padme as a high school girl got pregnant by her boyfriend Darth Vader, and they go and find Senator Organa and his wife, the Queen, to adopt the baby. Funny. And I got to play Jason Bateman for about 2 minutes. That thrilled me to death. Jason Bateman's character in Juno, or as Jimmy Smits, which was a little confusing, but. It was a fun production. We did stuff on location. We actually ended up shooting in Dean Cundy's house, and he's
kidding.
The big Jurassic Park cinematographer, DP.
Great.
So, and he talked to us briefly, and I'm like, whatever I'm doing is nothing compared to what you did. I'm just here. But it was awesome.
You got your SD camera going, hey.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Look at this. It's cute, isn't it? I'm going to shoot on cell phone next.
So awesome.
So there's a cheaper seats, though?
Can I jump in real quick?
Yes, you may.
Just because we were talking about George Lucas liking things. Yes. And I wanted to mention that I read a little article that George Lucas loves Rogue One. He loved Rogue One.
I heard that
I thought
too.
that was interesting. So, quick sidebar on Rogue One.
And it's a good stamp of approval, I think.
Yeah. Back to our regularly scheduled program.
No, I have down that was one of Gareth Edwards', but he admitted one of his biggest moments of his entire career. He's like George Lucas said he liked him.
Yeah.
So you and Gareth Edwards.
There you go. Look at that.
I know.
Look at
Isn't
that.
Incredible.
But so I jump over to your IMDb, and there's a cheaper seats. Where is this?
It was shot and edited. It was entered in the contest the following year. It was very unceremoniously rejected by the same people who chose cheap seats.
But it never made it to Vimeo?
Well,
check it out?
I was following the pattern of another fan film called Pink 5, which I'm a big fan of. And he had his was kind of the same idea of a person that you did not see. She was in the Battle of Endor, and Pink 5 is this Valley girl who's flying in her own X-wing. But then they ended up making Pink 5 Strikes Back and The Return of Pink 5 and all this sort of stuff. I said, that's a great idea for a franchise. Let me try that with Bob Beefkins. And so Bob Beefkins ends up in the Battle of Hoth in The Empire Strikes Back, having, through a skiing trip, lured the probe droid back to the base. He passes the droid follows him. That's how he finds the base. So he's kind of responsible for that. And he's in the trench. And, he's trying to... Anyway, the idea is we had a connection to John Ratzenberger at the time. My wife, took care of his dogs at the vet clinic or something like that. And we were arranging to get John Ratzenberger to come in and play Major Durlin in his role from The Empire Strikes Back. Nice little cameo. Wouldn't that be cute?
Yes.
We're just about to film it, and they changed the rules in the contest saying you can't have any professional actors in it. And I'm like, okay, no professional actors. So I hired a friend of mine from Universal who does impressions. I said, can you do Cliff Clavin from Cheers, doing his character in Star Wars? And he said, yeah. So we ended up filming him doing it. It kind of fell flat because it wasn't as big a joke without John Ratzenberger in it. I did all the effects practically. I used models and blue screen and stuff myself.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, so I didn't use any CGI. No, I did. The snow speeders were whatever, but I did. I had a AT-AT model walking in the snow.
Oh my gosh, how fun!
And we turned our pool.
Use the baking soda.
We did.
Yeah,
baking soda.
Nice.
There's a nice shot of the probe coming out of the crater. It's me doing
nice.
this, and it's got smoke from a smoke machine. I probably should put it somewhere. I should put it on Vimeo or even YouTube. It doesn't feel finished. It's the where the filmmakers say you don't quit a movie, you abandon it.
Yeah.
It was abandoned for time. It had to go into the contest. I did it as best I could. I'm throwing stuff together. I'm in my office at night shooting a turret, whatever. And I always think maybe I can go back and improve some of the keying and the blue screens and stuff and make it a little bit better. But I thought it was a great story, and a friend of mine who was in both Cheap Seats and Cheaper Seats, David Maddox, who works at Universal as well.
I know David.
You know David?
Yep,
Good.
yep.
Yeah, he's Norman Bates there. And he suggested we had to do Cheap Seats 3, the search for Cheap Seats 2. So, to find out what happened to that movie.
Boom, franchise.
Franchise. Well, I've already thought, let's go to Endor. Let's go to the Muir Woods up north and shoot. I've got an idea of Bob being on Endor, so... Yeah, maybe.
Screwing things up
Yeah,
there.
but Bob's
That's awesome.
Yeah, but Bob's about 15 years older now, so I don't know if that's really a good idea anymore. But I liked it, and I could make it available if you'd like to see what we came up with.
I like Cheap Seats so much, I wouldn't mind a sequel. But what is
Yeah.
your favorite fan film of all time for Star Wars?
I think Troops is one of my top favorites.
That's how it started.
Kevin Rubio was the granddaddy of fan films. My favorite, though, would have to be George Lucas in Love.
That is a great one.
Yeah, Taking
That
Off
is a
Shakespeare in Love,
great,
which I
great
also
film.
liked. And it was a wonderful film, and it was so well done as far as incorporating. That first gave me the idea for dual parodies, and dual parodies are a little bit of a cheap trick. It's like you take something that's already liked and combine it with Star Wars, and you've got a whole thing. But it's really easy to take the format of something else and put it into Star Wars, and it usually turns out really well.
Yeah, that I just saw like a top 10 Star Wars fan. That wasn't in there. That is a great
Shakespeare in
movie.
Love?
Yeah. Or
George Lucas in Love?
Yeah, it wasn't.
That's a great one.
Well, they had
Troops.
Tell me what you love here. They had Troops. They had Darth Maul Apprentice, which you say is amazing.
I think it's the best made fan film in terms of you could actually just say, oh, we're just gonna make that canon. Like it have you seen Maul Apprentice?
Is it? Yes, the one out in the woods. It's kind of stuff in the woods.
In the
yes,
woods.
I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
I know your brain is going, I do dual parodies. So is Darth Maul like in the Trump role trying to pick the next?
I was thinking of another movie like that, and that's where you got me confused. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's so well done. I mean, cinematically, it's just a fantastically done film. Those filmmakers, I mean, they took it seriously, and they really made a great looking motion picture.
Absolutely.
And they got actors who did a great job, and they obviously all do that for a living as well, and you know, so they went in and knew what they were doing. So I mean, that's a beautiful film. Maybe they even did a behind the scenes.
Oh, did they?
That is incredible. You watch it, I mean, it's like this is.
I love
this
this.
is awesome.
I love this.
So.
And the newest latest is the Star Wars Scene 38.
I love that the fight with Obi-Wan.
Yeah, reimagined version of the Ben Kenobi Darth Vader duel.
Yeah, somebody asked me, said, didn't you mention you would like to see that? And I said, I responded back, I said, I thought that might have been in a special edition. I thought they might have gone ahead after the prequels, say, let's just reshoot that fight. You know, let's doing basically what they did. Let's get doubles. Let's put their faces back on. Let's do that. It is. I don't have any problem with it at all. I think it is wonderful. Somebody said the fighting style wasn't quite right for the two of them.
Contextually, you could have some issues with that, but I mean, the technical prowess on display is impressive.
It's fantastic. George Lucas always said it's a robot and an old man. That's how they fight now, you know. So okay, you know. But I loved it, and maybe if they toned it down a smidge, not as dynamic, it might be a little bit more believable. But I thought it was a wonderfully made film.
And you know, a robot and an old man is just Darth Vader.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. So it's and you don't even need Obi-Wan, you know. So
I actually really love what they did. I think it's beautiful.
Me too.
I think it's really well done. I just don't think it works within the context of the film when they try to cut from one scene to another, and the cinematically the way it's shot, it's much more handheld. It's much more immersive. I mean, it's modernized.
Yeah, you'd have to shoot it with the same kind of style they shot in the 70s.
That's right. Yeah, I would be interested to see. I mean, not that anybody's going to do another version of that, but if somebody did, to see something where it was like just an upgrade. I think somebody did do an upgrade of that scene that just had a little bit more to it before this big scene 38. But I do think it looks beautiful.
It looks fantastic, and that is what anybody who makes a fan film wants to do, is to make it look as good as possible, unless you're intentionally making it look bad. You want to make it, and that's why in cheaper seats I try to shoot stuff practically. I said, let me do it the way they did it and see what happens. So
have you seen this all this stuff going on with this guy who's done the Darth Vader movie? That was it was a big brouhaha. They told him he couldn't have this movie anymore, and Disney came in and they let him have it back. And I mean, there was I don't know the whole story with it, but I don't know if you saw his first. I think he was gonna make a trilogy of these Darth Vader movies, and he made the first one, and he spent like $250,000 making this film.
Is this the one where he flashes back?
Yes,
he's flashing back.
It's a flashback.
I think I've seen that one. It's nice.
And he spent money, and he did a great job. He's a good filmmaker, and he seems like a really cool guy. And they, I don't know, I guess Disney came in and said no, and then they said yes, and then so I don't even know where it stands now. But that one is also pretty well done as well.
Yeah. That's the risk, isn't it? Like all this effort, and then Disney just goes nope.
That's the Star Trek thing nowadays too. Is they
with Axanar?
Yes.
With what? I don't know this.
Axanar is a fan film that got the attention of CBS, I think, not Paramount, but it got attention of CBS, and they said it looks too much like something we'd make. Don't make it. And this was before they came out with Discovery, which is kind of the same time period as theirs was. Theirs was pre-Kirk. It was a pre-Kirk thing, and I think my opinion is they had this in development and said people are going to think your show is ours, and we don't want you to do that. So they made them. They were going to make a feature. And I think they're still working on it, but they made them pull back, and they made all sorts of new rules for fans.
Sets and all sorts.
Yeah, they went full out. I mean, there's a couple of Star Trek things. One, Star Trek Continues, is one of my favorites. It's basically season 4 of Star Trek. If they had made a season 4, and the guy who plays Kirk is just like him, and it's really
that's interesting.
Extremely well made. But Paramount just got, or CBS, got upset. I think that it was too close.
What I don't understand about any of this is I don't understand why these big companies don't bring these guys in and just say,
give them a job.
You guys are fantastic.
Yeah.
We love your work. Let's, go ahead and what we would like to do is buy that film from you so we can make money off of it too. Exactly. It's really our property, and we would like to employ you. I mean, seriously.
I'll take a job. I'll take a job with them.
I don't understand.
Has that ever been done?
I don't know. Yeah. But I know the guy who did who has the Darth Vader issue going on. I think at some point, once they were going back and forth on are we gonna let him do this or not? At some point, Disney had invited him to come to Star Wars Celebration, and so there was like I don't know, they healed their relationship or whatever, and then it went back to so I don't even know what happened with it. But I don't think so. I don't know that anybody's ever been hired.
I'm thinking of the Howard Stern show.
Oh,
People have called into his show, been hilarious, and he's hired them as writers.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
I once suggested to Steve Sansweet, who is like the ultimate Star Wars fan, and anyway, I mentioned to him after one of the contests, I said, I hear you're doing a new series, and I think at this point it was supposed to be like an anthology series where it would be a different story, not a continuity, different directors every time. I said, why don't you take the fan film directors and hire them to direct the individual Star Wars episodes, because they already know what they're doing, they have a love for it, they understand the genre, and give them some money to do it. And we're thinking that's a lot like what the Project Greenlight thing does, is that you give them the money and the crew they need, and then you do that.
I think that Disney should absolutely do that. I think they should, here's $50 million. Let's shut up the fans that are really upset about.
Right.
You really want to make a Star Wars film? Well, have a contest. Pick the best filmmakers. We'll give you the tools, and let's see where this actually does go. Because you know what? Maybe there is some fan out there who is going to make some amazing, actual canon Star Wars film. Maybe not. Maybe they'll be like, yeah, it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Who knows what the outcome would be, but it would be really interesting. And let's face it, you would have a television show about the making of it, because that would be interesting
That'd
to
be
watch.
interesting of it, too.
And, and if it's super successful, you might have a whole new saga.
Sounds good.
I'm glad we blew $50 million on finding out it is hard.
It's hard to make movies.
Movies are hard. So hard.
Well, Robert, you
Yes.
went to Star Trek, but you brought it back around to Star Wars.
I
again,
tried,
which
thank you.
is,
And you
Nicely
may
done.
It's
nicely
ideal
done.
for the
Yeah.
Star Wars
You can edit
podcast.
out any of the Star Trek stuff you want. So
Of course not. It's all good good times.
Good.
Well, that's 5 movies down, 5 to go
That's right.
on the Countdown to 9 podcast. I'm just confusing myself as I say it, but
All
that's it. We've
Yeah.
got the original trilogy, Force Awakens and Last Jedi ahead of us, and the 15th of every month is when you want to go everywhere you find our show and listen to the latest. That's everywhere, right? That's
it'll
YouTube,
appear on the
iTunes,
screen
Spotify,
magically.
Podbean, etc. And of course, the last episode will post 5 days before the release of episode 9. Once again, I'm Paul Preston,
I'm Sean Blodgett.
and our guest is Robert Reeves.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Did we get his stuff about
do
his
you want my-
plugs? I don't think
We're
we got
doing it
his
right now.
plugs. Oh, we're going to do his
Yeah.
plugs. All right. All right, let's take it one more time. Say it again. I'm Paul Preston.
And once again, I'm Paul Preston,
And I'm Sean Blodgett.
and our guest is Robert Reeves.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Between episodes, don't forget to follow us at facebook.com/countdown9, Countdown to 9 on Twitter and Instagram. And where are we finding you, Robert?
Where you found me on Vimeo very well. That's a good place to find my films. I also do have a website, which is pretty much the same thing. You go to reevesreel.com and you'll find movies and sometimes pictures there. I am on social media, also Instagram and Twitter, under Reeves Reel, but it's mostly personal stuff, so don't expect a whole lot of behind the scenes. But Vimeo is a really good place to find my stuff.
Your Twitter feed will be all the stuff we didn't get to today.
Exactly.
Right.
I will go home and tweet that now.
Yeah. And join us next month as we get to what I'm calling the highlight of this whole thing, the original 1977 Star Wars. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have a whole round table
Yeah.
of guests here to kick
Yeah,
that one around.
I think
There's much
so.
to say about it, about the film that changed our lives.
Yeah.
Till then, Sean, I love you.
I know.